A book out next week called Peril by journalists Bob Woodward and Robert Costa says that General Mark Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, made 2 secret phone calls to his counterpart in the People's Liberation Army in China during Trump's last months in office. The purpose of the calls? To assure his counterpart that America is stable and not about to attack China. But if President Trump did order, say, a nuclear strike, that he would give the Chinese Communist Party a heads up. The book also says that General Milley assembled senior military leaders and asked them to promise that they wouldn't carry out a presidential order for a nuclear strike unless General Milley was also present. None of the book's claims have been denied. General Milley's spokesman, Colonel Dave Butler, describing the calls as normal communications with a foreign counterpart, not a break in protocol. And from the White House, President Biden says he has confidence in Milley, calling him, quote, a patriot who has fidelity in the U.S. Constitution. Meanwhile, many on the Republican side of the aisle are using words like treason, coup, and court-martial. In the midst of all of this, the United States, UK, and Australia just announced a new security alliance. It's specifically to counter the Chinese regime's increasing power in the Indo-Pacific region. The allies will share information and technology, including helping Australia build a fleet of nuclear submarines. Joining us now to discuss all of these developments and what they mean is Bill Gertz, the national security correspondent for the Washington Times and author of Deceiving the Sky, Inside Communist China's Drive for Global Supremacy. Bill, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
So first, I'd like to get your take on General Milley's phone calls to his counterpart in China, General Li Zuocheng. What I want to know is, were these just normal counterpart-to-counterpart phone calls? Were they treason or something in between?
Well, it's an open question. We saw a statement from General Milley that came out in which he said he basically confirmed the calls and defended them. I made 2 points about this in my Inside the Ring column this week in the Washington Times. The first is his statement said that these calls were coordinated within the interagency system. That's not true. I spoke with senior Trump administration officials who said they were unaware of it, and obviously it undermined their efforts to put pressure on Beijing, which was part of a major strategy at for the Trump administration. The second point, the ostensible reason for Milley holding these calls in which he appeased the People's Liberation Army by saying that the U.S. was not going to attack was that there was some intelligence, supposedly, that the Chinese had misinterpreted that the U.S. was preparing for some kind of an attack. The Trump administration officials in the White House said that this intelligence never reached the White House. If that's the case, that's almost a criminal negligence on the part of the intelligence community. So we've got to find out, we've got to get to the bottom of this whole scandal. Well, I really see it as an emerging scandal because it involves what appears to be, based on what was in the Woodward book, a usurpation of the civilian control of the military. You have Milley saying basically he's in charge of the military and going to ignore what the commander-in-chief and the chain of command. He's not in the chain of command, by the way. He's the president's senior military advisor.
So nobody else knows about this intelligence. So is it possible it didn't get through, or that there was no intelligence, perhaps?
Well, my point is that this is of such significance, and if the Pentagon felt that this was so significant that the Chinese were fearing a U.S. attack, I think the very first person to be informed about this would have been the President of the United States. And here we have a situation where the President of the United States was not informed about this. So this is, again, a real gap in the intelligence reporting system. It's what they call in the intelligence system indications and warnings. If there is these kind of indications and warnings, these are the most significant bits of intelligence that must be conveyed to the senior leadership in the policy community.
So, but part of this entire story is that General Milley and others around him didn't trust the presidency, didn't trust President Trump at that stage to be stable, to make the right decisions. So could that not be an explanation for why that intelligence, if it exists, wasn't passed on?
No, that would not be a basis for withholding intelligence information from the commander-in-chief. And again, this is raising questions about civilian control of the military. We also know that there was an appeal by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to General Milley that he should somehow prevent President Trump from having control over nuclear weapons. So again, these are some very serious problems with our military and the civilian control of the military. Unfortunately, I'm not optimistic with Democrats in control of both houses of Congress and the White House that there's going to be any kind of a serious investigation. But this is truly very troubling information, not the least of which you have General Milley informing the main adversary of the United States, that is the People's Liberation Army, that the United States would not conduct a surprise nuclear attack, and if we did attack them, that we would let them know in advance. This is something that is just never done from an operational security standpoint for any military operation. It's a standard in the U.S. military that they never telegraph or inform for operational security reasons any kind of military operation that's planned.
So that was one of the things that surprised me as well. Surely he would know this is coming. I've told the reporter it's coming out in a book. There are records of these calls. Do you think he just genuinely didn't see it as problematic, and that's why he was, feeling free to share about it?
Well, the circumstances around these two phone calls, one on October 30th and one on January 7th, are that apparently the previous defense secretary before these time frame was Mark Esper. And apparently Mark Esper, we haven't heard from him, but he apparently got the ball rolling on this matter by ordering some low-level Pentagon policy officials to somehow reach out to the Chinese with this idea of some type of message of reassurance. And then that was then picked up by Milley in his direct conversations. But again, this is something that is really urgent and requires some type of congressional investigation. We haven't heard much in the way from the chairman of the Senate and House Armed Services Committee, which oversee these type of military questions.
So how do you think Xi Jinping and China, military establishment in general, will be viewing this whole situation right now?
I think that it will be used by the Chinese information warfare system, which is very aggressive in promoting the false narrative that the United States is a nation in decline, and again that China has what they call Xi Jinping's dream, the China dream, which is basically, I call it the China nightmare, which can only be described as China seeking global supremacy. In order for China to achieve its so-called China dream, they must vanquish the United States. They must weaken and ultimately destroy the United States. So that's the state of strategic play that we're looking at right now in the high-level maneuvering by both China and the United States.
Be sure to watch the entire episode, now available exclusively at EpochTV.com, a new completely censorship-free premium subscription platform brought to you by the Epoch Times. See you there.